Time for our 8th game of the week, our 4th game of the day. And for the Trine Thunder, as well as the Seagulls of Salisbury, they've had to sit around waiting all day long, but finally their time to shine. And boy, did they shine their first games, each of them winning in extra innings. As they continue on in our winners bracket, one of these two teams will improve to 2-0. The other one will face possibly elimination tonight. A quick turnaround. Lincoln Rose, Sydney Gearbracht with you. As Sydney, this is the 4th of 6 games today on this diamond. I'm told there's already been 3.
Yeah, entering into the second half of our day here, Lincoln, and some great softball already having been played, and expecting a great game from Salisbury and Trine. Both teams doing an incredible job in extra innings like you shared, and strong on both sides of the ball for both teams. This should be a great game.
For Trine, it is Rosie back in the circle. We did not see many pitchers with complete games, but Rosie was among those who shined the brightest as she went the distance in that 8-inning affair. Now, mind you, that was spread over 2 days. We saw her pitch a couple innings yesterday as we picked back up that game in the bottom of the 6th yesterday against Eastern. When it was 2-2, Trine would go on to win it. The reason why their game started a little late, well, you can blame Salisbury. Salisbury was trailing in the bottom of the 9th by 1. They walked it off by scoring 2. Both teams probably feel like they're a team of destiny. Both teams have been here several times in the past. They're hoping to capture a national championship before 2022 is over. Abby Mace leads things off for the Seagulls. She'll be followed by today's starting pitcher for Salisbury, Lindsay Windsor, as well as Natalie Paoli. Again, Rosie in the circle. Your pitcher of the year in the MIAA, the Michigan Intercollegiate Athletic Association. As Adrienne has fallen behind in the count to Mace, 3-1. We started today with 8 teams. We're currently down to 6. We're told that's not good enough. By the end of tonight, when we rest our heads on our pillows, there will just be 4 teams still competing for a national championship here in Salem. As we are making up for lost time yesterday when there was some rain falling down. Look up ahead, nothing but big blue skies still. Plenty of sunlight to go.
And the elements, like you shared, Lincoln, early in this tournament have made for a bit of a brutal losers bracket. Some teams having to play back-to-back tonight.
Mace will shoot this into the gap. It's down. The question is single or double. She is not slowing down. It is a stand-up double for Abby Mace.
Looked like there was a bit of a bump out there between center and right.
Abby Mace, the first team All-American.
Beautiful ball. Mace working gap to gap. That's probably actually an easier play for right field because that ball has that righty spin on it, a little bit of a slice. Easier for the right fielder to get around on it and make a play.
Abby hasn't sprinted that fast since they won their Super Regional, and she barely made it to graduation on time last weekend. Here's Lindsay Windsor in a pitcher versus pitcher matchup. Difference is one of them gets to swing a bat. As Windsor at the plate, first team All-American in her own right for her exploits in the circle. She's your pitcher of the year in the Coast to Coast Conference. We just saw the player of the year double to begin the affair. I mean, not that Lindsay Windsor's too shabby as a player herself, a .449 hitter coming into this week. She's going to pop this bunt up, and they welcome that out. Phillips able to squeeze it in. So Windsor was 2 for 5 in the extra inning victory, but 0 for 1 to start today. It gives way for Natalie Paoli, who was 0 for 4 with a walk in that comeback victory against, tell me if I'm wrong, Milliken.
Mm-hmm.
Runner on second, Abby Mace.
Paoli, the second best RBI hitter on this Seagull squad. This is exactly who you want up right now in this 2-out situation. Runner in scoring position.
She's your Coast to Coast Conference Scholar Athlete of the Year. So Salisbury's your number 2 seed entering this week. They're not even the best seed out of their own conference, as we just saw CNU, the number 1 seed, come back late for what proved to be, in the end, decisive victory to improve to 2-0. Whoever wins this game gets the rest of the day off. They'll be one of your favorites along with the captains of CNU, and it could very well be both teams out of the same conference that have the inside track to colliding for the National Championship Series. Again, the other team's going to have to turn right back around and face elimination, possibly suffering 2 losses on the same day.
Well, not uncommon for teams in this tournament to have faced each other, especially early in the season. We talked a little bit about the NFCA Leadoff Classic, where a lot of the best teams, usually around the top 25, top 30 teams in Division III, get a chance to see where they stand early in the season, see where they need to work on.
So we saw Barry suffer its first loss as CNU came from behind. Barry also will be playing later on tonight. Eastern and TLU both survived our losers bracket elimination contest earlier today, so they're back in action tonight. So it'll be Eastern Connecticut State against Barry. The team that loses this game will face the Bulldogs of TLU. And that's a TLU offense that has started to click now.
Paoli taking control of her at bat, getting a chance to call time.
Again, the team that loses this game, they don't get a game off. They turn right back around, as this is all one giant bracket. This will be the first time there will be an intersection of what we saw the first half of opening round and the second half. These are not 2 self-contained brackets that stay isolated until the final. And as a result, Eastern Connecticut State sitting back, won't play Barry until the nightcap tonight. Texas Lutheran will actually be the fresher of the 2 teams that collide coming up here.
Yeah, and hopefully the Bulldogs have gotten a chance to actually rest as opposed to staying at the field the whole time watching softball. Maybe some coaching staff still here, doing a bit of recruiting, a bit of scouting the opponent.
As Rosie, after the foul out from Windsor, able to strike out Paoli. 2 away.
Still a good at bat there from Paoli, forcing Rosie to throw a number of pitches. Gives her team a good look, a chance to time Rosie in order to hopefully pass the bat.
So after a leadoff double from Abby Mays, 2 batters later, she is still right there on your screen, standing on second. Here's Megan Reed, the DP. Reed, sophomore, seen time at first base and DP this year. Has really stepped up this postseason, hitting well. Reed was 2 for 4 in the win against Milliken. Again, Milliken led by a run, 5-4 after the top of the 9th concluded. Salisbury would score 2 in the home half, and that would be your ball game. It would be Savannah Sheets, who in her 4 innings of relief would pick up the win after Lindsay Windsor got the start for 5 innings.
Seeing a number of the Salisbury offense have their timing down nicely against Rosie, fouling that ball straight back, usually an indicator to both hitter and pitcher that timing is on for the hitter. Wouldn't be surprised if we see some changes in elevation and or speed here. Rosie going to have to introduce that off speed a bit earlier in this matchup versus in their last game where she waited a little bit, had the opportunity to wait. Seeing a lot of pitchers kind of hold off on that off-speed pitch until they really need it, so they have another tool in their arsenal.
The 2-2 to Reed. This will keep the inning going. No, it will not. Forgive me for doubting Murdoch out there and right. A great read on that ball, makes the catch, and the Seagulls go scoreless in the top of the first despite a leadoff double from Abby Mace. When we come back for Trine leading off, it'll be Ellie Trine to try to set the table.
Number 8, we are scoring for Salisbury is Emily Stockman.
Second game for the Seagulls of Salisbury this week. Second start for Lindsay Windsor, who went 5 innings of no decision. 4 runs, 3 of them earned, 5 hits, a couple of walks, a couple of strikeouts, 77 pitches thrown, and what was eventually a victory against Milliken, 6-5. That sent Milliken to the losers bracket, and earlier today, the Big Blue became one of 2 teams eliminated. Along with WPI so far, 2 more teams will join them tonight. Lincoln Rose, Sydney Gearbrack. As 3 games already have transpired on this diamond, what a fantastic job the grounds crew has done before each and every game of reinventing this field. As here is Ellie Trine. Her sister will be joining her on the Thunder after we ambushed head coach Donnie Dankelson at dinner last night, asking for the backstory of Ellie becoming a member of the Thunder. Obviously, it seems like a natural fit. As he said at one point, they've each accused each other of not answering each other's emails during the recruitment process, but thankfully they eventually did connect. Ellie from just a couple hours away in Kokomo, Indiana. Not sure if that's what the Beach Boys were singing about. The 0-1 from Windsor, Trine unable to hold up. Taylor Murdoch will be on deck. Amanda Prather in the hole, top third of the order. Trine led off with a walk in the last game against Eastern Connecticut State, but was a hero in the 8th inning with a single. She would score on a 2-run home run from Murdoch. That would ultimately win the ball game. Both these teams familiar with playing late into the postseason. This is the 4th appearance in the championship for Trine. It's the 10th for Salisbury. Salisbury has been 3-time runners-up. They have yet to get over that final hump of winning the final game of the year. As this one pulled into right. It's going to be a leadoff single. And a nice job backing up by Stockman, but Trine is on.
Good little piece of hitting there by Ellie Trine.
Both teams get their leadoff batter on with a base hit. Remember, Salisbury could not move Abby Mason an inch after her leadoff double. Let's see if Trine can do better.
Yeah, just a little poke through the 3-4 hole. Again, not trying to do too much, not trying to overswing.
Trine, the player of the year in their conference. Here's Taylor Murdoch. Had the game-winning home run in extra innings. Game that started on Thursday and finished on Friday. Murdoch, first team all-conference. Was on that 2019 Trine team in Tyler. Salisbury's back for the first time since 2015, but they were also in Tyler, but that was back in 2014. Those were during that fantastic era with Marge Knight as head coach that wrapped up with her retirement in 2020, even before she knew about the pandemic that would shorten that season. Marge Knight, the NCAA Hall of Famer, over 800 wins as head coach of Salisbury. Actually played for Salisbury as ball shot through, and Trine has 2 on. Murdoch joins Ellie Trine, back-to-back singles.
And I like the energy that Trine has brought to this first offensive showing so far. Doing a good job keeping a very talented Windsor off balance, not really letting her settle into her rhythm in the first 2 batters she's faced. We've seen pitchers make quick work of many batters all day today. And Trine, again, not letting Windsor settle in.
Oh, trying to chop at that one. Amanda Prather, first team all-conference out of Indianapolis, the junior. 2 times first team all-conference now in her career. Is also part of the all-regional team earlier this postseason. Your RBI leader with 40 coming into the week for the Thunder. Couple of singles to start this ball game. Prather hoping to bring home at least a run here. Right now trying to put the pressure on that defense. She's chopped at a pair, and she's behind in the count, 0-2.
Well, many times in this situation, Prather is going to be the one they're relying on to manufacture RBIs. Coming into today's game, leading Trine with 40 on the season so far.
That went in on the handle, fought out a play, foul.
And going to be really important when you're given the opportunity to execute a sac bunt, execute some of those details, that you do what you can to put that ball between the lines.
Both these teams swept their way through last weekend's Super Regionals, best of 3, only needed to play 2. Seagulls passed Mount St. Joseph by a combined score of 8-0. Trine got past Case Western Reserve by a combined score of 7-2. Nobody out, 2 on. And Prather with an 0-2 count watches that one go by.
Good work behind the dish by Stockman. Keeping that ball in front with runners in scoring position.
Only the 4 seniors for that Trine group had ever experienced a full college softball season, as well as a D3 postseason experience, of course, back in 2019. Last 2 seasons severely shortened by the pandemic. Ellie Trine rounding third. She'll come home. It's an RBI single from Amanda Prather. 3 base hits for Trine to begin this ball game in the home half of the first as they land the opening blow.
And again, really important for Trine to come out hot in this game. Prather again doing a great job recovering from not getting that bunt down, being able to work gap to gap. Quick infield single turns into a run for her team. Good piece of situational hitting there. And our runner on second did a great job of not listening to coach, and usually that doesn't work out well, but coach was waving her to third, and she decides to stay at second. That was probably a good move.
Yeah, they conceded the run, which was the right choice. We've seen several teams fail to hit a cutoff, and it has cost them extra bases for the runners who are still on base. So Murdoch gets second, Prather with the RBI single on first after Ellie Trine scores. They're going to bring a new towel out to Lindsay Windsor. Ashley Swartout now due up. It doesn't get much easier. She's second team all-conference, the senior. Also back from that 2019 team that went to Tyler, Texas. Second straight year that she's been all-conference. Last year was first team. 6 home runs on the year coming into this week. Swartout had a base hit in that 8th inning, technically yesterday, part of that first game. She was 1 for 3 with a walk as well against Eastern.
And I'm liking the response that I see from Windsor. Doing a better job of being a little bit more precise with her pitches against Swartout, who is also dangerous when it comes to RBI production.
Still looking for that first out this inning. Swartout, the cleanup hitter, 3 straight singles. Already a run has scored. Seagulls out of Salisbury, Maryland. The 1-2. May have been a bit outside. Swartout was not going to risk it. Again, trying a iffy start this year, but it's because they did participate in that early season tournament. Started 0-7 against some of the best teams in all of Division III. They learned from it, grew from it, and here they are. Now one of the last 6 teams playing softball in Division III. Count 2-2 to Swartout. The base runners Murdoch and Prather. In Trine's schedule this year featured 14 of the teams that got bids to the NCAA tournament. Trine had played 3 of their potential 7 opponents this week already this year. The 2-2 from Windsor. Out in center, Mace. It'll be tough for the runners to advance. They won't. There's your first down of the first inning after 3 straight singles and a run scored. Salisbury hoping they can find quickly 2 more.
Third base, number 35, Scarlett Elliott.
So Mace able to squeeze it in for the first out, retire Swart out, and here's Scarlett Elliott. Elliott had a leadoff home run in the second inning of their last game against Eastern. One of 2 home runs in that ball game for Trine. She would go 1 for 3 with a walk in that homer. Comes up here with 2 on and only 1 out. And Windsor able to get that one past her.
Windsor just not getting that call in the outside corner. Tailing a little bit too early.
The 2-1. That's a foul ball.
We're seeing Windsor continuously rely on that curve on that outside corner, keeping it at the knees, doing a nice job working it low, doing a better job with the right bat angle to hit that ball well.
Murdoch and Prather, your runners. Opposite field, down the line. It's a foul ball by about maybe 9 feet. As Lemon slowly started to breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that she was not going to be able to track that one down, but no damage would be done. Again, the 2-2. Caught looking, strike 3, out number 2.
That's a great spot there by Windsor. She sees that Elliott is crowding the plate, expecting an outside pitch. And Windsor does not shy away from throwing it right on the inside corner. Beautiful screwball right at the knees.
That gives way to Emma Byer in the 6th spot in this lineup. As Windsor jumps ahead, 0-1. That one will get away. 1 runner will advance. And now the other runner will follow. And Trine's going to have insurance. And we have as well an obstruction call, but it's a moot point. Taylor Murdoch comes home. Seagull's guilty of throwing the ball around. And now Prather goes from first to third on a ball that's never put into play.
Probably not a need to make either of those throws, because it looks like Murdoch is at third safely. Probably going to give up that other base. Probably going to give up second base rather.
Yep, 1 pitch too late. Windsor had settled in, had a fly out and a strikeout. 1 pitch later, a line out, but the damage done. Trine finds insurance. They strike for 2 in the bottom of the 1st. Well, fans of Trine, like fans of Salisbury, it's been a wait. As ultimately 3 games had to unfold today before finally they could watch their Thunder and Seagulls take the diamond for just the 2nd time this week. Making up for lost time, the Thunder strike for 2 in the 1st. As the Seagulls bring their bats back to the plate here in the top of the 2nd is Lauren Myers down to the 5 spot. She'll be followed by Madison Lednam and Carly Galbraith. In the 5, 6, and 7 hitters, facing Adrian Rossi, who has a lead to work with. Both starting pitchers for these teams from the first games of the week. Back at it here tonight. Myers' second team all-conference this year. Putting up great numbers, 375, 5 home runs, 34 RBI through 47 games coming into this week. Ellie Trine in center will give way to the second baseman Byer. 1 away.
And Ellie Trine has a significant distance to cover there. Good default to her second baseman. Not always the case, though. Often an outfielder has an easier time because they're running in versus going back.
Remember, Salisbury last inning got their leadoff batter on with a double, but they were never able to move Abby Mace off of second. Right back to Rossi. 2 away. Boy, as a pitcher, you're given a 2-run lead, and you love that response. A couple of quick outs.
And watching Rossi in the circle is so much fun. She's such a competitor, and we saw that in the first game. But able to do the work herself. I think that was 1 pitch, 1 out.
Yep, and Carly Galbraith will last at least a little bit longer than that. The freshman this year was second team all-conference out of Boiling Springs, Pennsylvania, and the Coast to Coast Athletic Conference, the C2C. She stepped in the midst of the season at second base when Maddie Lemon briefly went down. Lemon then would take over in right field when they would lose another player. Galbraith has locked down that second base role, batting 7th here tonight. Comes up with nobody on and 2 outs, facing Rossi for the first time. Now Phillips unable to frame it for the strike. Again, Lacey Lord, second year head coach, back at her alma mater for Salisbury. Played under Margie Knight. Played on the 2003 team that was here in Salem. This is the 5th trip to Salem specifically. 10th overall for Salisbury to the NCAA championship. Again, Lacey Lord, back when she was Lacey Lister, a 4-time All-American pitcher, who's still one of the most prolific record holders in wins with 105 and strikeouts with 1,096. Only female with her number retired at Salisbury, number 14. No longer available. But right now, it's Adrian Rossi. Steps in, sits down Salisbury in order. She's retired 6 straight, right now with 2-0 lead. I believe around here they call that general admission, as we've had fantastic crowds within the confines. Some of our Seagulls fans. Trine looking to build on a 2-run advantage. Here's Mercedes Doherty, the DP.
Windsor relying on those horizontal moving pitches. Does a good job working the ladder, both off the plate and elevating whenever she needs to, from the knees up.
Brittany Harvey standing over at first. As head coach Donnie Dankelson over at third, hoping to wave a few more runners home. Doherty, a 5th-year senior, was last year's Conference Player of the Year before giving way to her teammate Ellie Trine this year. Second inning of work for Lindsay Windsor. First 3 batters she faced in the first inning, all singles, first 2 of whom would ultimately come home to score. Bottom third of the order here in the second for Trine. 3 teams this year that have been in the championship in recent memory. Again, 2 of them colliding right here, the other of which able to fight off elimination in our first game of the day. The Bulldogs of TLU. I believe only TLU and Eastern have won national championships among our remaining competitors. Both were facing elimination this morning. Both prevailed. Over Windsor, her shortstop Paoli. That's going to be an infield single for Doherty.
Sort of a 50-50 chance there. Paoli's going to make that play. Bit of a soft bouncer, a lot of English on that ball. But we're continuing to see, and this has been a common theme throughout the day, where middle infielders are getting a hold of that ball and trying to get rid of it before they actually have it in hand. Looked like Paoli actually tried to barehand that as opposed to just using your glove, taking that extra second. Might have paid off.
Gonna have a pinch runner here for Doherty. I have a feeling the amount of speed we see on these teams in Salem has a little something to do with trying to rush the throw. That is April Sellers, the freshman, comes in to run. 4th hit of the day for Trine. Gill puts down a beauty of a bunt. Only play for Windsor's at first. They'll get her on the bang-bang effort. Sack bunt executed by Anna Gill out of the 8-hole.
Batting ninth for the Thunder, the catcher, number 20.
And Sellers moves into scoring position. Brings up your 9-hitter, Ainsley Phillips. And the freshman catcher these days, filling a big hole left by not 1 but 2 senior catchers from last year's squad. She was on the all-regional team to begin her first NCAA postseason this year. Season where she's hit better than 300. Has 3 home runs so far to start her college campaign.
Lincoln, that was one of the big questions that Trine had, not having someone with experience to be such an important part of every pitch, one half of the battery. And we also saw earlier today in some earlier matchups how important it is to have the maturity behind the plate, knowing when you need to step in and support and managing your pitcher, managing the thermostat on the field.
Yeah, be a calming influence at time. 1 on, 1 out. Up the middle. Galbraith at second, able to make the play. It's been station to station, though. Doherty now over to third. Or pardon me, Sellers, her pinch runner.
Center fielder, number 21.
Nice job by Carly Galbraith getting the second out. They can focus on getting 1 more. Coach Dankelson hoping to send 1 more runner home before this inning's over. Looking for insurance, but here's Ellie Trine. And your player of the year. You know, Coach was listening to me last night while they were leaving a tip. I asked, is there any way you could get Trine on the back and just put Thunder on the front? And there you go. But it wasn't just for Ellie. Apparently they did it for everybody, which could make it confusing that everybody has Trine on the back of their shirts. And a wild pitch or a pass ball could very well bring home a 3rd run this ball game for the Thunder. I know I'm not coming up with anything original that Ellie Trine hasn't already heard. I like to think she just did it to herself.
Ellie Trine, one of the mainstays in this lineup, Lincoln, starting and playing in all 44 games the Thunder has seen thus far.
Yeah, both these teams have their conference player of the year in that leadoff spot. Getting them as many at-bats as possible.
And comes into this game with a .399 average. Probably a little bit of a bump over 400 now after that single in the first inning.
Scored the first of the 2 runs. Trine, 2 runs on 4 hits. With 2 hits here, or pardon me, 2 outs here. Question is, can they bring Sellers home before the end of the 2nd inning? Make it 3-0.
There's nothing more annoying to a pitcher than a hitter that won't get out, and Ellie Trine not only being a catalytic leadoff hitter, as many of these leadoffs that we've seen are, but does a great job finding a way on base, whether it's a walk or...
Oh, Windsor finally got that third out. After a leadoff single, Trine unable to bring Sellers entirely home. It'll leave the door open for Salisbury, down by just 2.
Game number 8, our score, the Thunder 2. Salisbury order, leading things off for the Seagulls as we head to the top of the 3rd inning. Catcher, number 20.
It's softball season regardless of what level you're supporting. Always great here in Division III. Be back in Salem, Virginia. 2nd straight year we're here. No strangers to Salem, both with D3 and D2 national championships here in the city. As Adrian Rossi still working with a 2-run lead, Trine unable to tack on to the advantage. And she's still working through the lineup for the first time. Salisbury, it's one of their twin freshman catchers, Emily Stockman, allegedly, at the plate. Both Emily and her sister Ellen saw time this year. 36th time in the lineup for Stockman of the Emily variety. The 1-1 from Rossi.
Rossi having the advantage of getting to settle in to her game, settle into some of these at-bats. Done a nice job so far keeping the Seagulls off balance.
Shallow center. Multiple players calling for it. Ellie Trine gives way to Beyer at second. As long as it's caught, you move on.
Well, we've seen some spicy and dicey plays in the first couple games of today, and you know it's really important infield and outfield as you're working together to notice the triangles of the humans and the range of the humans that you're going to be playing against. Sometimes you're going to be going up against to make a play with. And that center and then middle infield triangle can be a tough spot. Errors can be made there.
You're a pitcher, you're just happy. That's now 7 straight retired by you and your defense. Here's Maddie Lemon out of the 9-hole. We mentioned she started this year as your second baseman. By the time she was healthy, that job had been claimed, but teammate Jillian Dawson suffered an injury that created a void in right field that Lemon has filled nicely. For Lemon, now her 23rd game on the season. And she watches the third pitch go by, count 1 and 2.
And that could be incredibly challenging for an athlete, you know, sense of urgency to get back, get healthy. That's worse to go back before you're ready and then stay injured and extend your time off the field.
Ball out of play, foul.
Part of the reason why we've got support staff at universities. Some athletic trainers take good care of the athletes, make sure that they have the time they need to recover in the unlikely event of an injury.
Oh, big cut. Squeezed in by Phillips. Third strikeout for Rosie. Salisbury had the ability to endure a couple of injuries. Meanwhile, in that WPI team we saw earlier, 13 players. Another look here at the strikeout.
Yeah, Lemon just a little eager. Ball looks good. Closer it gets to your eye, sometimes the bigger it looks.
All right, back to the top of the order. Back to your player of the year in the conference and a first-team All-American in Abby Mace. Your center fielder for Salisbury. Facing Rosie now for a second time. Mace doubled to begin the first inning. Again, her teammates could not advance her even one base. See what she can do here with 2 outs. A COSIDA Academic All-American, as well as her now 2 All-American seasons. And she'll shoot this one out towards left. That's a foul ball. Boy, you could see the gears working for Anna Gill in left, whether she was going to need to lay out for one. But when she realized not only was it beyond her reach, but it was going to be foul, was able to kind of dial it down for a moment.
When that ball not necessarily going to have any spin, but it looks like it was roped at an angle that was going to continue traveling towards the corner. Not anything Gill could do there. Not worth leaving her feet.
Second straight year that Mace is your coast-to-coast conference player of the year. I mean, second straight year she denies a Christopher Newport CNU captain from being a player of the year. I'm sure they believe they have some candidates. 2 outs after a pop out and a strikeout for Abby Mace. The 1-2 from Rosie. Got her. 4th strikeout for Adrian Rosie against the All-American, as she has now retired 9 in a row. Trine back at the plate, looking to build on a 2-0 lead. Home half of the 3rd inning here at the Moyer Sports Complex. Great to have you back with us for our 4th game of the day. If you missed the first 3, don't worry. This is the first of what I like to think of the second trilogy of the day. So Lindsey Windsor in her 3rd inning of work. It'll be Taylor Murdoch, who's already singled and scored this ball game. Some miscues from the Seagulls allowed Murdoch to score that insurance run. And is Trine able to capitalize. And Murdoch already a home run this week. That gave her her 7th home run of this season. Facing Lindsey Windsor now for a 2nd time. And Windsor, the junior out of Union Bridge, Maryland. All-American in her own right. We saw an All-American really rise to the occasion earlier today. Ashlyn Strother did not pitch in the Bulldogs' first game for TLU. Of course, we've seen her in the past here in Salem. But she was dominant, 13 strikeouts for the Bulldogs. Once they took a lead, never looked back. In our first of 2 elimination games today, that was against WPI. Tight in on Murdoch, 1-2 the count.
And seeing some great competitors in the circle right now. I like that Windsor does not shy away from that inside corner, backs up the Trine offense off of the plate. They've been really starting to crowd the plate, looking for that outside pitch.
Well, Adrian Rosie, the opposing pitcher, is putting the pressure on Lindsey Windsor. Rosie has retired 9 straight batters. 4 strikeouts, and her defense backing her up for the other 5 outs. Trine's had base runners each inning so far. Trine's had their leadoff batter on each of the first 2 innings with singles from Ellie Trine and Mercedes Doherty.
Yeah, when we talk about winning the inning, I would say Trine has done a great job so far of controlling the controllables, and whether or not they've been able to put a run up on the board, they've been able to win most of the innings offensively.
Murdoch steps out. Windsor taking longer than she'd like. And Brittany Harvey on the staff along with Dennis Smith for Donnie Dinkelson. And Windsor, the wait was worth it for the Seagull pitcher. Out number 1, retires the leadoff hitter for the first time.
Number 3, Amanda Prather.
Another strikeout to the Windsor K count. Beautiful off speed there. Tough break by Murdoch, just freezes her.
That's the the third strikeout for Windsor. Amanda Prather had the RBI single in the first that scored Ellie Trine and gave them their initial 1-0 lead. They would tack on one more in the first inning. So Prather 1 for 1 today. Wraps her bat around on this one, shallow left, but underneath it with plenty of time to spare is Francesca Catita. 2 away.
And part of the reason it was so important for Trine to get ahead on Windsor was for what we're seeing right now, right? So we're seeing Windsor do a great job of settling into pitching her game. Trine had her off balance in the first inning or so, but now that she's settled in, it will be Trine's game offensively to see if they can keep some of that offensive momentum going. Salisbury hasn't been able to quite figure out how to get Rosie off balance, so that's their challenge on the other end.
Here's Ashley Swartout, 0 for 1 today with a fly out to center. After a strikeout and flyout have preceded her so far here in the third. Lindsay Windsor looking for her first perfect inning to keep this a 2-run deficit for her Seagulls through 3 innings. And a slip in the circle, and that's a scary moment for the pitcher. Not so much that you're worried about yourself, you're worried you just laid a fat ball right over the middle of the plate.
Well, and it also changes the way that you land once the pitch is over. Can you defend yourself? Are you able to field your spot after that?
Yep. Swartout unable to take advantage. Strike will keep her there. It's a full count coming up with 2 outs. Again, City of Salem, Virginia, this weekend not just hosting D3 softball, but D3 women's lacrosse as well. And congratulations both to the Tufts Jumbos and the Middlebury Panthers as they have moved on to the national championship tomorrow. That'll be on NCAA.com.
Bit of disbelief from Swartout, but from this angle, I'm not sure what you're seeing, Lincoln, but that looks like a strike all day to me. And a beautiful off speed on the inside corner this time.
Typical biased announcer. Pop up. That is Lindsay Windsor saying, I've got it, and still almost an interesting moment. But when it's all said and done, a perfect inning for Lindsay Windsor against Trine. Salisbury goes back to work. One of the 90 NCAA championship events and one of our favorites, Division III softball, back in Salem, Virginia this year before it heads to Texas next year. Adrian Rossi back in the circle, has retired 9 straight Seagulls. Now facing the opposing pitcher, Lindsay Windsor, for a second time. Windsor fouled out back to the catcher her last time up. She was the first of the 9 straight to be retired. Abby Mace, who had a double in the first, was the most recent to end last inning. Lincoln Rose, Sydney Gearbrecht. Sydney, former Houston Cougar. Throughout your career, did you ever play any Thunder or Seagulls? Travel ball?
Not Seagulls, probably Thunder. Yeah, that's a pretty common name. Growing up in Southern California, we got a lot of like Wave and
yeah.
I don't know. Some of you may have heard of the Bombers or the Firecrackers.
The Taxes. As outside from Rosie against Lindsay Windsor, who by now, of course, would know the strike zone pretty well. There's a reason why the pitcher bats second, though. See if she can get something sparked here. The 1-2. Right back up the middle. Windsor is on. She timed that one up perfectly.
That may not be the best pitch that we've ever seen Windsor take a hack at, but does a good job of keeping her bat angle on top, the top half of the ball, slices it down up the middle. A good adjustment there mid-pitch.
That'll bring up Natalie Paoli. And Windsor can take a generous jump, nobody holding her on by virtue of the corner infielders having to charge. Windsor moments ago a single, 1 for 2 today. Paoli struck out back in the first. Trying to find a way to move Windsor around. As a foul ball when it's scooped up by the glove of Scarlett Elliott. By the time she did that, Windsor was already standing on second. That gets by you and it's fair. Windsor might be scoring on the play.
And Paoli had a great at-bat against Rosie in her first at-bat. Ultimately, it ended in a strikeout, but was in there swinging at some good pitches, fouled some pitches off, allowed her team to get a good look at the Rosie arsenal.
This is a third-team All-American swinging a bat. As taking second easily, did she overslide the bag? She did. Oh, it was too easy for Windsor, but could not slam on the brakes in time.
And a tough break there for Windsor. That'll be 21 successful stolen bases out of 24 and just slides a little bit late. Can't keep her.
Did that left hand ever come off? You imagine if you're Lindsay, you've communicated to your coaches one way or the other. And that's kind of a moment you want to be honest with your coaches. Otherwise, it might cost them a challenge. And it looks like they're inclined to review it. Again, this has to be a coach-initiated review before the 6th inning. Each coach has a pair, and they will look at it. So Lindsay Windsor, with the umpire staring right at her, steals second, only to continue sliding. The question is, did that left hand ever really come off the bag? Here's her problem. She's called out, and if there isn't anything decisively showing that hand still in touch with the bag, not just what you think looks like her hand still in touch with the bag, she's still going to be out.
Well, that's one of the challenges that our officials have to make, or have when they're making these calls, is that play happens so fast.
Just watch her left hand the entire time. And even though the right hand is off, I don't know that we ever see separation from the left hand, but it's going to be up to the folks back in Pittsburgh looking at it to determine whether that's conclusive that that left hand is always on the bag.
Yeah, it's going to be determined by whether her body actually took her a little bit too far wide. But she might have had her hand sliding the entire time.
Right again, there, is that left hand on or off? Again, we had an umpire staring right at it. You would understand if he's distracted by the right hand coming off. But that left hand was pretty close to maintaining contact the whole time. I won't be surprised if she's still out if they don't believe that's conclusive to show that her left hand is still in touch with the base. And it's simply a matter of whatever was called on the field would stand, but we will wait and see. We'll understand if it goes either way.
And what's been nice is that once we've gotten a chance to see multiple camera angles, we've actually been able to determine whether or not they're going to get the call or if it's going to be overturned. That's the only look we've got right now.
Again, that is where, if you're a coach, you need your student athlete to be honest with you. If Lindsay Windsor thinks her hand was on the whole time, you'd be inclined to believe that's true. It's just whether or not this is conclusive or not that that left hand is always on. While that tag is being applied here in a moment. Ignore the right hand. That left hand, is it still on right there? I just don't. We'll see what the folks in Pittsburgh believe is obvious.
Well, it actually looks like Windsor probably could have taken an angle straight to the bag. But again, the play's happening so fast.
Again, we will understand if it simply stays with what the original call was. In this case, that would be out. Again, we all see that and we think, hey, we think that her left hand's there, but we don't see anything that conclusively said it was. Let's see what they have to say in Pittsburgh. They're going to uphold the call, and that makes sense. Based on the standard, you're familiar with it in other sports. Doesn't mean it's always applied correctly in other sports. But just because you believe it's more likely than not that something happened, that is not clear and obvious. That is not conclusive proof. And despite her great jump, ultimately they say she came off the back.
It's a bummer for Windsor, who was able to produce on behalf of herself. Hopefully get a runner potentially in scoring position here. Instead, we've got one out on the board with Paoli, who's going to be a big RBI support.
Yeah, you've got the third-team All-American now at the plate with nobody on, and a 2-2 count to her name. Instead of a runner in scoring position. As Swartout able to stay on the base. No need for a review there. 2-1.
Designated player, number 4, Megan Reed.
Well, Rosie is back on track, has now gone back to facing just one more than the minimum. Here's Megan Reed, cleanup hitter for Salisbury, lined out to right, her only time up today. A little off-speed offering from Adrienne Rosie. Faces the sophomore for the second time.
Looks like Rosie misses there. Crosses her catcher on the other side.
And she was the only pitcher to pitch a complete game on the first day when we saw all 8 teams. Not just that, but she pitched 8 innings. Game that technically carried, or officially carried over into the next day. The only softball we saw yesterday was the bottom of the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th inning between Eastern and Trine. Trine ultimately prevailed. That's why Eastern faced elimination this morning, but survived. We will see the Warriors in the last game of the day. As we're still in the midst of our last game that was scheduled for yesterday. This is game number 8. We've got games 9 and 10 coming up next here tonight. That is a foul ball out of play. Seagulls finished second in the Coast to Coast Conference. The team that finished first is still here and is already 2-0 with a comeback win earlier today. Could we have an all Coast to Coast Conference national championship? You go 2-0, all of a sudden you're on the fast track to that best-of-3 series. Just one win away. And a team has to beat you twice to deny you the ability to go into that best-of-3 game series. I believe that's Molly Simpson over in the first base box. Shot up the middle, it gets down. It's a 2-out base hit from Megan Reed.
First base, number 6, Lauren Myers.
Brings the tying run to the plate, Lauren Myers.
And a great at-bat there from Megan Reed to back up the middle. Good choice. Just a good quality piece of hitting.
Myers 5 home runs, 34 RBI. Her coaches think she should have been all region. She is 0 for 1 today with a pop out back in the second inning to begin that frame. Big opportunity here.
And Salisbury slowly chipping away at the deficit or the gap between hits. Trine still with 4 on the board, Salisbury with 3. Ultimately Trine able to push 2 across in that first inning. Still the deciding factor here between a win and a loss between these two teams.
If Lindsay Windsor was on second before that hit from Reed, do you think she's coming home?
100%.
Again, the difference simply there of whatever was going to be the initial call was likely going to be upheld. And again, in the postseason, that burden is taken away from our umpires. They do not consult the monitors. They're simply on headset. They relay the message of folks who are in a controlled environment, looking at the video, as is the case in Division I and Division II. Punch to the right side. Reed will hold up at second as Taylor Murdoch is quick to get that ball and able to get it back in. That's back-to-back two-out singles. Lauren Myers now on the base paths with Megan Reed.
And again, a great piece of situational hitting, choosing an outside pitch, hitting behind your runner as much as possible, and you've got a runner on first. Now we have a runner in scoring position, probably for the second time so far this game for Salisbury. And two outs or not, it's going to be important to see if they can execute.
And they will run for Megan Reed now. It's going to be your flex, your starting left fielder, Francesca Catita.
Francesca Catita. Catita, the flex, now at second for the Seagulls. Now batting for Salisbury, third base, 17, Madison Letnam.
So the New Yorker trying to get the first run across. Myers is 60 feet behind here. Here's Madison Lednam. Grounded back to Rosie, back in the second inning. As Dennis Smith will make his way out to talk to Adrian Rossi, who has worked with a lead ever since Trine scored 2 in the first inning. She has thrown every pitch of these 2 games for the Thunder. She's thrown at least one pitch for the past 3 days.
And really the pressure's on Salisbury in order to execute here. They still have not proven that they've been able to, I guess I would say, dominate Rossi or beat her. At least haven't seen them be able to push one across, and it's going to be Rossi's job to make sure that she's focused on what she can control, which is going to be the batter at hand and Lednam. If I'm coach, I'm going out there and saying, hey, pitch your pitch, trust your defense, and we'll get the out for you.
That's Catita edging into your screen on second. Myers behind her on first. With 2 outs, back-to-back singles for Salisbury. His first pitch to Lednam inside. Well, if Lindsay Windsor hadn't scored from second on the hit from Reed, certainly would have scored from Myers. And Salisbury still trailing by 2, looking for that first scoring strike. Instead, Windsor's back in the dugout, thinking about her next half inning in the circle. And she has retired her last 6 Trine Thunder opponents. Right now, Rossi in the circle, Lednam. Bases loaded. A walk to the number 6 hitter. Catita goes to third, Myers to second, Lednam joins them. Tying runs in scoring position. Just need 1 out. And you're back to the freshman, second team all-conference this year, hitting .300. Carly Galbraith. Big moment for Salisbury with 2 outs. 3 straight batters have reached with 2 outs, 2 singles and a walk. Katita on third, Myers on second, Lednam on first. Opportunity here for Galbraith. Thunder just need the 1 more out. Out towards right, Murdoch underneath it. The Seagulls will strand 4. It was a promising inning that included 3 hits and a walk for Salisbury, but in the end, no runs crossed under the watch of Adrian Rossi.
4th inning, Salisbury with no runs on.
Trine fans breathing a little easier after bases were loaded. They were wondering if that 3rd out would ever rear its head. It did. As a result, the Thunder come back to the plate now. Scarlett Elliott leads things off out of the 5 spot, 0 for 1 today against Lindsay Windsor. And the Seagulls fans just having to wonder what if. And miscommunication out in the outfield, full speed ahead. Scarlett Elliott is standing up on second base with a double. Oh, Abby Mace and Maddie Lemon each thought the other one had it. They each pulled off and watched the ball drop.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Lincoln. We see both outfielders pull up just a little early. That's a catchable ball by either outfielder. Just going to be a matter of who gets there first. That miscommunication is not what they need behind their pitcher.
Meanwhile, Emma Byer almost gifted an out. Got to be able to get that bunt down on your first try. We'll see if she can successfully do it here. You know, the center fielder typically is your captain of that outfield, but we've seen several teams already today struggle with that concept.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the jitters or if they're not expecting the ball. Either way, maybe a bad jump. But as a defense, I'm really relying on my catcher, my shortstop, and my center fielder to support in making some of those calls. And if I'm not involved in the play, I'm also seeing if I can get a good read and support and calling out whoever's name I think is closest to the ball.
Scarlett Elliott, the double, stands on second. Emma Byer at the plate. Nobody out. A 2-1 count to her name. Windsor wants to be able to trust that defense behind her.
Well, and to that point, if a pitcher doesn't feel like they can trust the defense behind her, that's really when you see a pitcher start to press. And while I don't necessarily think that that's going to happen with Windsor here, that is a conversation I could expect as a field player to have with my pitcher in the dugout. Hey, I got to be able to trust you. I need to know what happened out there. I'm doing whatever I can, every arm circle, every pitch. Need you to have my back there.
And a walk will send Byer down. Remember, unable to get a bunt down, no problem. Now she gets to join in on the fun.
We talk so often as players and as coaches about how important it is to limit free passes. We saw how important it was in earlier games to limit those passes. I think it was ultimately Milliken that dropped because they had 5 or 6 free passes in the game that would ultimately end their season. And so it's going to be important here that Windsor responds after that defensive miscue. And they stop maybe a little bit of bleeding here with 2 runners on and no outs on the board.
Able to get that bunt down, Doherty. And that's another constant. You get that bunt down on your first try, and you would think you're giving yourself up. Not the case. You are forcing the defense to execute the fundamentals. Easier said than done under this kind of pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is an easily playable ball. Again, another miscommunication, that defensive miscue. Not something we're used to seeing from Salisbury.
Well, and is that a situation where even though the pitcher could field it, they need to get out of the way for their third baseman?
No. Their momentum is carrying them forward. That is directly back to your pitcher, especially with a pitcher like Windsor. If Windsor was not a pitcher who could field her position well, yes, default to your third baseman, but we've seen Windsor be able to do it all. This is no different. Not sure what Lednam is doing, getting in the way of Windsor there. At least that's what I see.
So bases loaded for Trine. They still haven't scored this inning, but there are no outs. Lacey Lord has been here before as an athlete, a 4-time All-American pitcher. Played in the 03 championship week for these Seagulls. Spent the past decade plus as head coach at Washington College before returning last year to replace her legendary head coach, Margie Knight, who still has a role on her staff. As Gill puts one in play, Trine will score one, looking for a second, no tag applied. Everything going the way of the Thunder.
Well, that's what that can happen, Lincoln. A really great example of why it's so important after that first miscue to call that timeout, to make sure that the response after that first mistake, that first free pass is, hey, we just need to refocus on our game, make sure that we are controlling the momentum or doing what we can to neutralize it as much as possible.
And that's going to be at least one RBI on a single for Gill. As for the second run, who cares how you score it? Trine has insurance.
And a really great piece of situational hitting by Gill, right? So she knows she needs to, she takes a look at her defense, knows she needs to hit behind her runner. And again, not trying to do too much. This Trine team not necessarily going to rely on the long ball, especially not from Gill necessarily.
Well, miscues are going to lead to the exit of Lindsay Windsor. Nicole Ortega takes her spot in the circle. We'll have more on Ortega and how this ball game plays out when you
Your attention, please. Now,
Well, replacing an All-American in the circle with second-team All-Conference, Nicole Ortega, the sophomore. It's her 22nd appearance this year. She made 9 starts under her belt this year, 65 innings, a 7-3 record with a couple of saves as well. A 2.13 ERA. No need to memorize all of that, just some relevant information. She inherits a Seagulls defense that has been rocked this inning. Several playable balls, no outs to show for it. Now a 5th batter coming to the plate for Trine. It's the number 9 hitter, Ainsley Phillips. A double, a walk, an error, and more recently a single.
now batting for Trine.
As you have runners on second and first. Phillips 0 for 1 today. 2 runs have scored here in the 4th to go with the 2 Trine plated in the 1st. It's after the Seagulls stranded bases loaded last half inning. Defensive miscues have cost them here in the 4th. The pinch runner Haney on second, Gill on first. Emerson Haney out of Holland, Ohio, the sophomore, trying to add yet another run this inning. Phillips sits back on that one, but pulls it foul. 2-1. And this is our second winners bracket matchup. Both these teams winners in extra innings back on day 1. Our previous 2 games today were both elimination games before we dove into the winners bracket. CNU with a comeback victory prior to this one. So CNU, the only 2-0 team right now. One of these 2 teams will join them with a 2-0 mark. Though it won't be on a collision course, at least not yet. In 5th bat of this inning, no outs. 2 runs have already scored for Trine. As Phillips awaits the 2-2 from Ortega. Full count. Only third base unoccupied. The payoff pitch from the southpaw. Not tempting. Bases loaded for Trine. 5 Thunder batters have come to the plate. All 5 have reached, 2 have scored, and now you go to the top of the order to your player of the year, Ellie Trine.
Center fielder, 21, Ellie
And this is the moment, Lincoln, where you hope everything's going to go in your favor, especially with the Thunder right now, riding some of the momentum that they've generated for themselves. And we know how fast momentum can shift, and it's going to be Salisbury's task and Ortega's task ultimately to stop the bleeding here.
All remaining runs this inning will be unearned. We say that in this sport. I don't think it makes it feel any better.
No, certainly not.
Runner on third, the pinch runner Haney, after Mercedes Doherty reached on an error. Anna Gill on second. Ainsley Phillips at first after their singles and walks. The 2-0 to Trine. I'm curious if she would even consider swinging before a strike is thrown. With bases loaded, it's 3-0. Oh, pardon me, 2-1. I was caught looking at the scoreboard instead of our umpire, who apparently is the leading authority on that. Bases loaded, nobody out. Trine looking to break it open. The freshman catcher Stockman trying to find that first out any way she can. Maybe by catching a runner off the bag. Second batter, Ortega, has faced in relief after walking Phillips a moment ago. Top of the order for Trine. No RBI walk, at least not yet, for Ellie.
I will say I'm a bit torn on Stockman's decision to throw that ball down to third, but I do appreciate the effort she's putting in on behalf of her pitcher.
Trine will punch this out towards left, able to squeeze it, Katita, but it will score one. Sacrifice fly from Ellie Trine. It's your first out this inning, but it's your third additional run for the Thunder as Haney scores the pinch runner.
right fielder, number 16, Taylor Murdoch.
And if you're going to get an out this inning, if you're going to be the first out, rather, that's one way to do it. That's the way to do it.
It was a 2-0 ball game. Salisbury was threatening last half inning with bases loaded. Nothing came of it. Again, defensive miscues here in the fourth. An inning to forget. But they're hoping also an inning to get out of without any more damage done.
We talk a lot about productive pitches, productive innings, productive at-bats. And a great productive at-bat there from Ellie Trine, and a productive out as well.
Yeah, you're willing to trade that out for the run.
Absolutely.
Looking for more. Third base unoccupied right now. Taylor Murdoch 1 for 2 with a run scored. That one pulled foul.
Ortega going to throw a bit more junk than what we've seen from Lindsay Windsor. It's going to have a little bit tighter spin. Throw the ball a bit harder, mid-60s. Ortega's ball's going to dance a bit.
And Ortega relieving Lindsay Windsor. 4 batters into this inning. Now facing her third. A walk and a sacrifice fly so far. Count 2-1 to Taylor Murdoch. And Murdoch, a 2-run home run in the 8th inning when the game was continued yesterday against Eastern. Our only softball of the day. We're making up for it today. That ball just never breaks back in over the plate. Murdoch, the 7th batter to come up here in the 4th. Best inning Trine has had so far in that category, and it's shown with their best output with 3 runs. 2 on, 1 out. Bases loaded. Taylor Murdoch did not lean into that one. And this is to the point where our home plate umpire feels like he needs to give her an escort down the line to make sure she never looks over to the pitcher. I don't think that would come about, but that's a tough ball to take.
Not sure if that hit the back of her arm, tender spot, or soft part of your back there. Either way, take your base. But again, a tender spot. Hard not to have that moment of maybe a little bit of anger, fire in your belly for getting hit.
So
pretty natural response.
Bases have been reloaded after the sac fly had brought a runner home. And you're right into the meat of your order. Here's Amanda Prather. RBI single in the first, 1 for 2 today. Your number 3 hitter for Trine.
I'll tell you, with 1 out to work with, the RBI queen of this Trine offense, this is who you want up in this scenario.
Anna Gill is on third. She's singled as the 4th batter this inning. Ainsley Phillips is on second with her walk. Taylor Murdoch after the sac fly from Ellie Trine. Hit by pitch to load the bases. Still just 1 out. Entire Seagull infield is in. Cannot afford to give up any more runs. That creates a vulnerability in the shallow outfield now. The 3-0 pitch with bases loaded. Prather will send a screamer off to the distance and gone. It's a grand slam home run for Amanda Prather to break this game wide open and inch Trine a little closer to a 2-0 start in Salem. 4th home run on the year for Prather as she crushes that one. And for Trine, a 7-run 4th inning.
Well, and what a time to have your 4th home run on the season, Lincoln, and a grand slam at that, putting Trine up 9-0. And that was the 2nd time Prather got that pitch. Did not take a hack at it the first time, did not let it go by a 2nd time. Good in the moment pitch-to-pitch adjustments from Prather. We see why she's been so important to this Thunder offense all season long.
9th batter of the inning, Ashley Swartout. And just to pile on, the news gets worse for Salisbury. They're potentially down to their final 3 outs in this ballgame. They are on notice for the run rule. Swartout 0 for 2 today. Still just 1 out. That only out was a productive out. Remember, a sacrifice fly. Galbraith playing back as the 2nd out. Now we're back to where it began with Scarlett Elliott, who doubled and scored already this inning.
And a similar play in multiple games today has resulted in an error by many second basemen who have played on this field today. So a good play there by Galbraith.
Elliott's already the 6th batter Ortega has faced in relief of Windsor this inning.
Seeing Stockman behind the plate a bit more animated for her pitcher.
A double, a walk, an error, a single, a walk, a sac fly, a hit batter, a grand slam home run, and moments ago, finally, a ground out. First unproductive out of the inning. And it gets us back to, again, the woman who started it all here, Scarlett Elliott, who had that double this inning and the run scored.
Talk about a big inning for the Thunder offense. 7 runs. That's the highest scoring inning we've seen so far this tournament. And Trine just continuing to put the pressure on Salisbury inning after inning.
Most runs in an inning, most runs in a game we've seen so far. With that said, there's a couple more games tonight that could outdo it.
That's absolutely accurate.
2 outs. Ortega 1 strike away from getting out of this 4th inning. The count goes full. Salisbury will have their 8 and 9 hitters due up, along with their top of the order, their player of the year, Abby Mace, to try to extend their game. Now, at least this is not an elimination bracket contest. Payoff pitch over the left side. And the Seagulls are finally out of the bottom of the 4th inning, but not before the Trine Thunder plate 7. The majority of it possible due to miscues, and the Thunder looking to put this one away.
Leading off the 5th inning for Salisbury, the catcher, number 20, Emily Stockman.
A lot of softball's been played under the sun tonight. Just now, starting to be under the mercy of the lights. Adrienne Rossi has still thrown every pitch on behalf of Trine here in their first 2 games, and she's being rewarded finally. A 7 spot in the bottom of the 4th. She's 3 outs away. She can only concede 1 run, otherwise Trine will have to bring the bats back in the home half of the 5th. They'd still be leading. They just want to have a short outing. Here's Emily Stockman, 0 for 1 today.
This goes to show you, Lincoln, how important it is, especially on this stage with these teams. Any sort of free pass, teams are going to continue to put their foot on the gas pedal. Cannot give them an inch. Any team on this field today, you've given them an inch, they've taken a mile.
That is a foul ball. 9 runs have been scored in this ball game by Trine. 3 of them earned. So 1 ball, 2 strikes here for Stockman. Maddie Lemon on deck, then the top of the order, Abby Mace. 1 pitch at a time. It's been done before. You don't have to find all 9 runs right here. You just need to find a couple. And all of a sudden, you've bought yourself 3 more outs.
And all of those runs were put up on the board 1 pitch at a time.
4 of them were put up on 1 pitch. But
yes. Thank you.
grand slam by Amanda Prather. One she'll remember. She'd like for a win to go with it. They don't want to be known as the team that saw a 9-run lead slip away. But there's a reason why Salisbury is here. There's a reason why they're the number 2 seed this week.
I think that happened one time when we were playing Texas at home. We lost 12-10 or 12-11.
Your teammates are going to start tweeting at you, asking you to stop.
Oh, they'll be fine.
Focus on the game ahead of you.
I'm just saying it can happen.
Stockman was looking for a grand slam right there. That would be a double in that adjacent field that it just went into.
Siegel Stuffy in the dugout.
Most recent signing class. 2-2 coming from Rossi. Stockman, this is going to be in foul territory. Playable, tracked down, and Gill has it. Anna Gill, she saw an out to be made. It's an out to be had, and it's 1 fewer out for Salisbury.
What a great play there by Gill, tracking it all the way. Momentum takes her into the fence. So glad to see she's aware of her surroundings. But a great effort there to support your pitcher.
Salisbury's going to pinch hit for the 9-hitter Maddie Lemon, who, mind you, this is just now the 2nd time that the lineup is coming through, so your 9-hitter will only bat once. Carrie Jacoby, the freshman, pinch hits. It's her 35th game, her first appearance here in Salem. And Abby Mace guaranteed an opportunity to bat. She is on deck. Can Jacoby get on in front of her? Trine led 2-0 through the first few innings. Broke it open in the bottom of the fourth, taking advantage of miscues by the Seagulls. And identified just in time by Phillips. A couple of foul outs. And Trine's 1 out away from moving on at 2-0. Become just the second team to be perfect through 2.
And Phillips doing a great job, obviously. Big heads-up play. Able to make that at the last minute.
Both these teams played extra innings in their first game. Trine trying to atone for that here. Salisbury was the reason why they were a little delayed that first night. Salisbury wanted to come back in the bottom of the ninth. They got it. That's why Salisbury is not facing elimination right now. If they do come up short here, they're going to turn back around tonight, play again. But here's their player of the year, Abby Mace. She might be the only Salisbury hitter to bat 3 times. She has a double today in the first. Remember, they could never move her off that bag, as her next 3 teammates would go in order. She struck out to end the third. 1 for 2 today. No runs on 4 hits for Salisbury, 3 errors committed. Trine 9 runs on 7 hits. And Trine wants to talk things over to make sure that they don't give Salisbury any more outs beyond this inning. Again, Dennis Smith on the staff for Donnie Dankelson. And Coach profusely wanted us to send the thanks out to his staff for when, during the spring break, he had to go tend to his 3-year-old. Had to leave the team. The staff took over. Very capable hands.
Takes a village to win, and it takes a village to run a program.
Adrian Rossi went 8 innings for the complete game win in the first round. Looking for a complete game 5-inning performance here, thanks to the 9 runs her teammates had put up. Abby Mace stands in her way. And it's a 2-out walk. So it's this next batter who comes to the plate that's an important run. Oh, by the way, it's Lindsay Windsor. I mean, we talk about, remember the last time we saw Lindsay, she singles, she steals second, and apparently overslides the bag. Clearly she would have scored. Now that would have just trimmed the deficit down to 1 at the time, but you just don't know how it plays out from there. Instead, Salisbury still has yet to cross home. They have to do it twice this inning. Otherwise, that's your ball game. They're not going to gamble with Abby Mace on the base paths. That run doesn't count unless someone else can score behind her.
I hate to use a cliche here. Well, I won't use a cliche here. I'll wait.
That's what we're here for. I feel like we're running behind on cliches. Almost 4 games complete. 0-2, a rocket from Windsor back towards the wall and off the wall. They will send the runner all the way from first to home. Abby Mace has Salisbury on the board, and Windsor is safe at third. Well, Trine can still end the game here. Windsor was a foot away from buying Salisbury at least 3 more outs. That is a critical run standing on third base right now for the Seagulls. How about the decision to send Abby Mace from first to home and then Windsor to third?
Well, this is as good a time as any to push the envelope offensively. Salisbury really has nothing to lose at this point, right? Trailing 8 runs.
And for the first time, Donnie Dankelson will go to a pitcher not named Adrian Rossi. We will step aside when we come back. It's Lauren Clausen charged with finding an out before Windsor can traverse the final 60 feet. Sophomore Lauren Clausen, second team all-conference this year, stepped in at times as your Game 2 starter for Trine. A lot of valuable innings in relief, as right now she is charged with getting an out before the runner on third, Windsor, can come home. So she is squarely focused on Natalie Paoli, who is 0 for 2 today against Adrian Rossi and had no guarantee to bat again in this ball game, but a 2-out walk to Mace. She has scored on the 2-out triple from Lindsay Windsor. And mindful, if you're the catcher Phillips, you got to keep every ball in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Some geese fly by. Is that close enough to being a good sign for the Seagulls?
I mean, it's something. I don't think I've ever seen geese.
No?
Not in real life, no. That's
Not
pretty
even
cool.
not even just a goose?
I've seen a goose,
Okay.
but I haven't seen flying geese. That was pretty cool. Oh, man.
I think Fabio feels differently. Fifth batter of this inning, Natalie Paoli again. Strikeout and ground out today. On deck, Megan Reed. 1 for 2 on the afternoon. Lindsay Windsor standing on third, looking for any excuse to come home and buy Salisbury 3 more outs. Left side, play to be made, ball game. Trine Thunder run rule Salisbury in our winners bracket. Trine will take the rest of the day off. They and CNU, your favorites here in 2022. They will be the only 2 teams to start perfect 2-0 this week. For them to be denied a berth into the championship series, somebody has to beat them twice.
Well, and an impressive performance from the CNU offense and the Thunder offense in today's game. The first run rule we've seen, the most runs we've seen scored by one team, and the biggest inning we've seen. Trine coming to play today, coming to stun the Seagulls.
For the first time today, we did not have, again, a loser's bracket contest. So team that loses here, still playing softball. Salisbury still alive. We will see them coming up in an elimination game. Next up, we'll have a different elimination spot. As our coverage continues, we're 2/3 of the way through. 4 games down, 2 to go. A lot more softball coming your way, a lot more memories to be made. But for now, we step aside here on NCAA.com.